Welcome to the podcast. Kyle's not here today. He's in Narnia, but he'll be back next week. Joining me today is guest Blake Jackson from 20 Feet Away. Blake, how are you today?
I'm doing pretty good. I'm excited to be here and give you my thoughts on things.
How was school today?
Oh, it was great. Mainly because I don't have class today. So
you had all day to prepare.
All day to prepare, and prepared I am.
All right, well, let's start with the top 25. Who do you think that's ranked in the top 25 has a chance to open some eyes this year?
Open some eyes in the top 25? I'm probably going to have to go with Miami.
Why do you like Miami?
Ja'Cory Harris, third-year starter. They got obviously a lot of speed, a lot of swag, if you will. And they're ready to open some things up. I think they're 13, 14, somewhere in that area. So it's a good mid-level where they can really jump up. And playing in the ACC, they'll get a lot of tough competition. And I like to see what the season's going to bring for them. They got a tough game with Florida A&M coming up, so be sure and watch that.
Yeah, I went with LSU because I just think they won 9 games last year with no offense. Their defense is going to be just as good. They still have Patrick Patterson. And they also got Russell Shepard at wideout just to get him the ball because he's amazing. I mean, they're going to be raw, but if they won 9 games with no offense, hopefully the offense can be somewhat improved. They should be able to win like 10 or 11. I mean, that's going to put them. It's going to put them up there in conversation. They do have. I mean, they're in the SEC, so they have tough games every week. But
right.
LSU wasn't really a factor last year, and it was kind of weird for college football without LSU to be a factor. So I think they'll be back this year.
I'd have to agree with that. More mature, especially in the quarterback role, and now putting Shepard at wide out. I think I definitely bring something to the table. And the other teams, I'd have to go with Oregon State. They're ranked 24th right now. Open up the season, first game. We'll talk about their first game later in the program, but against TCU, that's a big statement game. They come out and win that. I think they're really starting to turn some heads out there. They're kind of Oregon's little brother out in the Pac-10, and just looking for an opportunity. They got the Rogers brothers, who accounts for over 50% of their offensive yards past 2 years or so. And so if they have a big year, I think they got some good recruits. Kind of a down year, crossover year for USC. Oregon has a brand new quarterback. So I think they have a chance to sneak away with a Pac-10 and really turn some heads there.
My second surprise team, I went totally opposite coast. I went with West Virginia, and partially that is because I think the Big East won't be very good, and I think that Noel Devine is going to tear stuff up this year. I think he's just going to go absolutely nuts, and so they're going to be fun to watch. And I just think that with their schedule playing in the Big East, Bill Stewart needs a good year to probably keep his job. I don't think he's got to 10 wins since he's been there, but they were with 10 wins every year before Rich Rodriguez left, and I think they need to get back to that 10 wins. And so I think they'll be good this year, better than they were the last couple of years. Now, still in the top 25, let's look at the most overrated teams. And I put down Nebraska just because I do not believe in that team. I don't care how good their defense is or thinks they are. They lost their best defensive player, and their quarterback situation, they don't even know what they're going to do. Everybody thinks Zach Lee is the answer. Everybody also thinks Cody Green is good. But from what I'm hearing, they're going to start some redshirt freshman out there. I think 8 is way too high for that team. I just don't think they're that good. Personally, I don't think they'll even win the Big 12 North. I think they'll stumble and not live up to all the hype that they had last year.
I would have to say I agree with the preseason ranking of number 8. I mean, they finished almost won the Big 12 championship game with probably should have won it. The referee knew how to count. So I would say preseason, I would say that's pretty fair. But I would have to agree with you that they probably will not live up to that, and probably finish out of the top 25 or in the 20s is my prediction for them.
Okay, same.
To my overrated teams, and that's not so much really overrated. USC, I think they're 13 or somewhere in the mid-teens there. Just a question. Just want to see how you feel about this. What's the point of ranking them? What is the point of that? They're not going to a bowl game.
I think the bowl game sanction thing is totally separate. The point of polling and finding out who's the best team is who's the best football teams. It doesn't really have to do with, well, can this team play in a bowl game?
Yeah,
I think
true.
that's kind of what they're out to do. Their mindset is, let's see if we can, get to the Rose Bowl but not be able to play in it and cause some media stir the media up a little bit and get us talking in the media. I mean, that's what I think they're going to try and do, is win as many games they possibly can and get to that point where like the NCAA doesn't look bad, but they do look bad because now, your Pac-10 champion isn't in the Rose Bowl because you made them sit out a year or 2 years.
That's true, but how depressing is that for the kids to see as they climb up in the teens? Maybe say they win the Pac-10, finish. That would probably put them in the top 5.
Yeah.
How'd you finish? Yeah, for number 4. Oh, cool. What bowl did you go to? Rocking Chair Bowl. Watched all my bowls from a big screen. I mean, I think it's really more depressing for the kids, and I mean, maybe it helps out with recruiting. Hey, look where we finished, but cool, you didn't go to a bowl. So I don't understand the point of that. Also, I would have to say Florida State. I think they're 22. Last year they finished final standings. They finished with, I think, like 6 votes for the top 25, and new coach, players that are, they won 8 or 9 games last year under Bobby Bowden, who's a great coach. New coach, new system, kind of. I'm just kind of interested to see how that works out, but I don't know if they deserve to be in the top 25. I think there's other teams who are more deserving.
I'm gonna kind of counterbalance you there. I love Florida State this year. I think they're ready to kind of take the step, and it has nothing to do with coaching the Bobby Bowden, because Dabo Swinney's been there for ever. I mean, not ever. He's been on the scene. He's been coaching them. I just think it'll be a seamless transition, and I think their schedule and all the people they have coming back really works into their advantage. And we'll talk more about them later, but I have them winning their division of the ACC.
Okay, teams to look out for. I got U of H, Conference USA, not as much respect. Don't play as challenging of a schedule. With Case Keenum returning, one of the best offenses in the nation, I just see them continuing to improve and getting better. Also go, of course, biasly throw out Mizzou, Blaine Gabbert on the Davey O'Brien watch list. Got a solid defense returning. Lost Derek Washington, but sources confirm that their offense will be okay without him. Got some great backup running backs, so I'm looking for them to make a push. And then also my final team to look out for, Texas A&M. Gerard Johnson, and on the short list of Heisman candidates right now. I think they're ready to take the next step and return to the early 90s Texas A&M teams of the old times. And I think the Wrecking Crew is going to be back this year.
I have 2 of those teams. I have U of H as a team that I'm looking out for. It's hard. They're just so much better than just about anyone they play in their conference. It's really up to their non-conference to get them ranked. So I had U of H. I have Mizzou, kind of like you said. I feel like they'll be okay, even though these last 2 weeks have been just a blur for them. They've just been hit really hard. So I'm kind of interested to see how they come out on Saturday. And then my final team is Notre Dame with Brian Kelly's new coach. I don't know. I have a feeling that it's just going to be right. I'm not thinking like 12-0. 9-3, 10-2. I think they'll be better than people think they'll be in their first year under Brian Kelly.
No, I definitely agree. Brian Kelly has a great track record, and Notre Dame has a platform to get the recruits he needs. So I think if not this year, the next year, they'll definitely be making some big pushes.
Let's move on to some conference stuff, and we'll start, I guess, in somewhat of an alphabetical order. We'll start in the ACC. Who is your ACC champion that you like?
All right, well, I had a tough time between this. So I'm going to throw out a game here. November 20th, circle your calendar, order some pizza. Miami at Virginia Tech. Ja'Cory Harris versus Tyrod Taylor. I think it's going to be the matchup of the ACC season. I say the winner of that game will go on to win the ACC. And of course, I have to predict something. I'm going to have to go with probably Virginia Tech. Just because the emphasis that Frank Beamer puts on special teams, I think that gives them an edge over Miami.
We'll talk more about Virginia Tech later, but what if they stumble early? Does that affect them in any way, mindset-wise?
I think anytime you lose, it takes you back some. But it also can be a blessing in disguise to give you an opportunity to look over things that went wrong and really work on stuff like that. And so that way, when November 20th, I mean, that's one of the last games of the season.
Right. You're
undefeated going that game. Your head's, bigger than the whole state. So I think that could be a blessing if they lose.
Okay. I went with Florida State. Like I said earlier, I really like them this year, even with their new coach. I think they have talent at a lot of different positions, and their schedule just kind of matches up with what they need. Florida's going to be weaker this year, and they have to play Florida every year.
Definitely
I just think that I think they're built for success in the ACC this year, with teams maybe not being as good, but the ACC will be competitive. And who's some other teams you like in the ACC?
Miami and Virginia Tech are, of course, on top of my list. The ACC is just kind of one of those conferences that I feel bad for anyone who plays in it, because it is just so difficult to consistently win. But depending on these suspensions, North Carolina growing on me. Normally a basketball school. I like North Carolina, and also Clemson. Kyle Parker comes back, forgoes a lot of money for being a first-round baseball pick to quarterback them for a senior season. So I'm interested to see how they react, without the speed of T.J. Ford and C.J. Spiller. So we'll see how that works out for you.
T.J. Ford?
That his name?
Jacoby Ford? T.J. Ford played basketball. That was close, though.
Dang it.
I like that. Dude, the point guard. But I like kind of like the same teams, I guess. One team that you've always loved that I really don't care much for is Virginia Tech. I've never had an attraction to that team. But most of the other teams you name, I love Miami when they're bringing back the Swagger U. I like Clemson. I like you. I'm really interested to see what they do without Spiller in the backfield, how that changes their offense. And I really like Florida State this year too, like I said. And so those are probably my three teams that I really like. I feel bad for the Dukes and the Virginias of the world that I feel like Maryland, they might never get to the top of this conference because it's getting better. It was down a few years ago, but with Florida State coming back, Miami coming back, this conference is getting really good fast.
Right. What are your thoughts? Neither of us mentioned it as a team. What are your thoughts on Georgia Tech? They've been getting better as the seasons progress, the past couple of seasons, but we didn't really mention them as teams to look out for or to win the ACC. I just want to know what you think about their season.
I like them. I just don't. I think they're going to be worse than they were last year. I think they're going to miss Jonathan Dwyer, but they got Nesbitt back, and that's going to be big for him because he leads that whole offense, and that nobody likes playing against the option. And so they'll win their 9 games. They'll probably go 9-3 and maybe come in second or something. They might go back to the ACC title game. I think that they've kind of established themselves as a good team, and they're probably going to be around for a while as long as they're running that option stuff because nobody likes it.
Right. I definitely agree. I've enjoyed watching Georgia Tech, watching them get better as a team, and I think they can definitely be out there and kind of make a push to be at the top of the standings. But just like we talked about earlier, it's difficult. It's difficult to win every single week in the ACC. So I think that's what really hurts them.
Yeah, it's becoming one of those conferences like they talk about in the SEC and the Big 12 where it's hard to win every single week, that there's no gimmies because all the teams are so good unless you're Duke or Virginia, and those are your off weeks.
Yeah.
But, moving to the Big East, which is going to be weaker this year.
Definitely.
Who'd you pick in the Big East?
Like you mentioned earlier, I picked West Virginia. I think Noel Devine is an exciting player. I think they returned a lot of good guys on defense. And there's really Cincinnati since Kelly left. I don't think they're going to be able to live up to what they have been in the past couple of years. Just new coach, new system. I'm not doubting the coach or anything. I'm just saying probably not going to be what we're used to, especially in this year.
Yeah, they're not going to go undefeated like they did last year.
Yeah, Pittsburgh ranked 15th. I'd say they're probably going to finish second. but I just don't think they have the speed that West Virginia does at all positions to really keep up with him. So
Dion Lewis does scare me, and I put West Virginia as well to win the Big East, but if there's another team that could win it, it's going to be Pitt. I just think that Dion Lewis is, I mean, they give him the ball any chance that they can, and so it's going to be up to him again this year. He pulled him out of a few games last year with some 200-yard efforts, and he's going to have to do the same thing again if they're going to be competitive. But I think if there's going to be a year that Pitt turns the corner and goes for that BCS slot from the Big East, I think this could be their year, because West Virginia is not like ultra talented, but they're probably about on par with Pitt. So if Pitt can run the table and or just beat out West Virginia in that conference and go to the BCS, that could really give that school some exposure that they need to get some more recruits in for the future.
Definitely. I think of being ranked 15th, they have a real chance to move up and quite possibly finish in the top 5. It's depending on how the rest of the season goes, if they run the table. Noel Devine, of course, real shifty, super fast, probably better than, I would say, Steve Slayton was at this point, because he's a do-it-all back, returns, catch, run, obviously. Also, B.J. Daniels, quarterback South Florida. They've been an 7-8 wins team, got hurt last year, really hurt them in their push to win the Big East. So I'm interested to see how he returns and what that football team looks like. I don't think they're going to really give anyone too much trouble that they shouldn't give trouble to. But I think, maybe a player or two goes their way. We might be talking about them at the end of the year, maybe clinching that BCS berth out of the Big East.
I'm not going to go near that. I think we're about done talking about the Big East. Let's get to the more exciting conferences.
What kind of conferences do we actually watch on TV?
Yeah, like the Big Ten with a lot of good teams. I got Ohio State. I just think, obviously that's like the really easy pick just because they're probably on paper a lot better than anyone they're going to play. Especially if Terrell Pryor plays like he did in the Rose Bowl, they probably won't lose a game. But I just think that they're the real easy pick, even though there are some really, really good teams in that conference. Teams that really we always kind of think about as being overrated, like Iowa's and Wisconsin's, and teams that we really don't like to see on TV because we think they're boring. They don't have the name recognition of Ohio State. But I think that those teams are all competitive enough to challenge Ohio State. And then you got Penn State in there and Michigan, who's going to be better this year. That's a really talented conference. It's really easy to pick Ohio State, and since it's easy, I'm going to do it.
That's the way. I think this is probably one of the strongest Big Ten seasons that I think they're going to put together. A few teams ranked in the top 25, a couple other teams who are probably ranked in the top 35. I also went with Ohio State. Like you said, it's an easy pick, definitely easy pick. I would have to say that another game to watch out for, also on November 20th, so circle your calendar again and don't plan on moving from the couch for a while. Ohio State at Iowa. I circled this as Ohio State's toughest game, and this is the game that will probably win or lose them the Big Ten. Iowa, good team, ranked in the top 10, just like Ohio State. So I think that's going to be an excellent matchup at the end of the year. Could define Terrell Pryor's Heismanship.
Heismanship, yeah.
Yep, Heismanship.
New word, vocab.
Yep.
I really like Iowa, and I think the reason I like them is because their quarterback, Ricky Stanzi, he impressed me last year, and so they're going to try and build on what they had going last year, and they've knocked off some good teams the last 2 years. I think they've beat Penn State 2 years in a row when Penn State was ranked higher than them, and so nobody really ever believes in the Iowas or the Wisconsins, but these are really good teams, and so everyone just kind of discounts them, and they start the season in the top 10 this year. I guess they're getting a little more respect. So I would agree that that's definitely a game to look out for, and I was gonna try and run the table this year. I just don't know if they can get it done because that conference is tough week in and week out. I think they're at the point now where they're not surprising people anymore. They've definitely got Penn State's attention after beating them the last 2 years, and I think they're going to get everybody's best game rather than maybe the past 2 years they haven't got that.
Right. I definitely agree with that. I think it's going to come down to Ohio State and Iowa. Of course, Michigan's going to be better. Penn State's always good. Michigan State even. I think they'll make a push, finish the season in the top 25. They could give some people some fits though. But who's your exciting players or any other teams to watch in the Big Ten?
As a group, I really want to see the Michigan quarterbacks with Denard Robinson, Tate Forcier, and all of them. I really want to see what happens with them, how that kind of unfolds, and just how they play. Because Tate Forcier started the year really strong last season, but he faded fast and
took too many hits. And injuries really caught up to him.
Yeah, and I really like Denard Robinson more for that offense that Rich Rodriguez runs. Because, I mean, if you look at the past and all the quarterbacks that have been successful under Rich Rodriguez, I mean, you think of Pat White comes to mind and people that are just really shifty, really fast, just people like that. And I think that that's more what Denard Robinson brings to the table and not Tate Forcier. But, I mean, it'll be interesting to see. I think they'll be a lot better than they were last few years at least.
They have to be for Rich Rodriguez's sake.
Yeah, he's got to keep his job.
Yeah. Also be down here at Huntsville. I'd have to say I have to agree with you. I can throw out some more names there. Shoelace, of course. I really enjoy watching him play. I've had the luxury of being able to watch him on HD. It's amazing. But I'm really looking forward to his season of him maturing. I was reading the other day where he had really worked on his throwing and to be a more complete quarterback. So he's my pick to start for Michigan. If I'm Rich Rodriguez, which I'm obviously not, but if I was, Shoelace is my man. Throw out some other names. Terrell Pryor, of course. We all know what he can do. Ricky Stanzi, Iowa's quarterback. He's going to make or break their season, I believe. And here's a name for you. Robert Bolden, Penn State's true freshman starting quarterback. I'm excited to see how he handles the intensity and the pressure of being a starting quarterback at Penn State and just playing against all these excellent teams in the Big Ten.
Yeah, that could be tough. It really, I mean, that's going to be very exciting to watch because I hear he's very talented, but it's one thing being talented in your spring game and your fall practices and then going into the horseshoe and having to play Ohio State or something like that.
Definitely.
Totally different game. We're going kind of slow, so we need to speed this up. Now we got to an exciting conference that probably I would say 80% of the people actually care about, which is the Big 12.
Yes.
Before you upset some Baylor fans or some A&M fans, who do you have winning this conference?
Well, I may not upset as many people as you think. I'm going to have to say Mizzou. I have Mizzou or Texas A&M. And I know what you're thinking, Texas A&M. Are you kidding me? But my thoughts on this is, like I mentioned earlier, I think they're exciting. I think, they obviously have great home field advantage. Gerard Johnson, he's a real leader. I was reading an article about him the other day, talking about his leadership skills and his focus. And they got a bunch of good young running backs. And I really do believe that the Wrecking Crew defense is back. And I think they can win the Big 12 South in the year where it's almost a transition phase with Texas and OU who consistently dominate the South. So I think it'll be a Mizzou A&M Big 12 championship.
I agree with your North, just simply for the fact that I just think not that I love Mizzou. There's no good teams in the North, in my opinion. I don't believe in Nebraska. I told you that earlier. I don't think they're very good. I don't believe in Kansas. Don't believe in Kansas State. Don't believe in Colorado. Don't believe in Iowa State. I just think that Missouri, if all the pieces fall the right way, that they can definitely win the North. And right now that's not looking good for how the last 2 weeks have unfolded. It's really kind of gone more downhill than uphill. They're really headed in the wrong direction before the season even starts. But once these games get going, we'll know a lot more. But my South pick, definitely not A&M. I think that there's two teams that are head and shoulders above them, just all over the field. I went with Texas. That's just my heart talking. I really think Oklahoma has a legit shot at it, though, because they're not replacing that much. Right. They are replacing a great left tackle. They are replacing Sam Bradford, but are they really replacing Sam Bradford? Because Landry Jones tore it up last year. He dominated. He was not the problem with that team last year. They just got hurt all over the field. DeMarco Murray's back. They're so talented. I think that winner of that Texas OU game, how it's gone the last few years, the winner of that game's really won the conference. And so I think it's going to be like that again. I do believe in Texas, though. I think that their defense is going to have to carry them, though. I think it's going to be more of a transition phase on offense. And by the time they get to Oklahoma, they might not have it figured out what they want to do on offense, because you got a bunch of young receivers that are really unproven. They're all blue chip 5-star players, but I mean that means nothing when you get on a football field. You got to go out and play. And we saw what Garrett Gilbert could do, but I think it's going to be kind of rough at the beginning, but they'll figure it out. And I think the winner of the Oklahoma-Texas game goes on, wins the conference, and represents the conference in the BCS.
Right, agreed. I definitely agree with you there on those two teams. I think Texas A&M was just like the NCAA tournament, going to have one upset pick, and I think that was my one upset bold pick. So we'll see how that works out for us.
It's very bold. I'd never heard it. I haven't read anyone picking A&M to win the South, but it's not that far fetched if you really think about it. They've been a good team in the making for a few years, and Gerard Johnson almost beat Texas by himself last year.
Right.
So it can definitely happen.
So that's right, folks. You heard it here first on Harvey Nation. A&M will win the Big 12.
This is actually the Get Buckets podcast, but thank you for Harvey Nation, the shout-out. I like that.
You're welcome. You're welcome. Exciting players?
Whew, all over the field. All over the conference. This thing is loaded with exciting players. Where do we start? I guess we can go team by team. Will Ebner.
Who?
Missouri's got Gabbert. If he has a good year, we might be talking about him coming out early in the draft.
We could get him on the podcast to talk about that, maybe? Just future thoughts.
That'd be a stretch, but it's possible.
Maybe get someone else to talk about him.
Yeah. So then someone I really am very interested to see, and we're going to see him this weekend, Robert Griffin. I'm excited to see him back from injury. I've heard good things, but there's nothing like live football with someone running at you, and can you trust that knee to plan on? And I'm really excited to see Robert Griffin back.
Me too.
You got any other players?
Gary Gilbert, to see how he handles being an everyday starter. Let's see, Gerard Johnson, of course, have been high on A&M today. But yeah, RG3, I'm excited to see him come back. Blaine and Will, I think we have probably the same players there. So there's a lot of exciting players all around the Big 12 that I'm excited to see.
Yeah, I would definitely agree with Gilbert. I think he's, as much as the whole nation and everybody loved Colt McCoy, I think they're going to be very impressed with Garrett Gilbert.
I agree. I saw him senior year in high school, playing against our old high school, Friendswood, and he tore us up. And I was very impressed with really more his running ability. He's not fast, but he's a good runner. He just doesn't get tackled. And I think that fits well with what Texas has been trying to do in the past with Colt and Vince Young. So I think he'll fit in well. It's just how quickly he adjusts to the mental part of it.
Yeah. All right, moving on. SEC. I'm going to try and keep this short, even though they are very – can we just limit this to two teams? Can we limit this to Alabama and Florida?
Oh, I threw in Arkansas.
You like Arkansas. Why do you like Arkansas?
Ryan Mallett.
It's one player. That's the only – I hear everything. I haven't seen him do anything great. I just hear Milt Kiper talking about him. I've never seen this kid do an ounce of greatness.
Ryan Mallett. Let's see if we can get some stats on Ryan Mallett real fast here.
Get some stats on Ryan Mallett.
You talk. I'll find some stats.
Yeah, okay. While you're looking up stats on Ryan Mallett, I'll tell you why I don't believe in Arkansas. Just since the season ended last year, who on that team, can you name another player on that team?
Well, I'm looking at the roster right now, so yes.
No, that's not fair. Okay, the answer is no, you cannot. The only player anyone talks about is Ryan Mallett. That's great and all, but he's not that great. I mean, he's got a rocket attached to his arm. That's really his claim to fame. And he can throw it like 80 yards. Yeah, woohoo. That's not going to win you ball games. I really don't like Arkansas. I just think that Mel Kiper has everyone going nuts about Ryan Mallett just because he's a NFL prospect. Well, other schools have NFL prospects too. Just about any school has an NFL prospect. Sam Houston had an NFL prospect a couple years ago. His name was Rhett Bomar. He didn't start here, but he came here.
That is correct. That is correct.
Do you have any stats on Ryan Mallett?
Yes, I do. Okay, so last season, full season starter, so that's the only impressive stat I could find. Well, let's see here. 55.8 completion percentage.
Rather low.
He threw for 3,600 yards and 30 touchdowns to 7 interceptions.
See, that's great. Those are good numbers except for the completion percentage, which kind of scares me for a guy that's supposed to be an NFL quarterback. 55 is not that great in college when you have Cole McCoy at like 75.
It's true. Also, I mean, not making excuses for him because I may or may not have picked them to win the SEC. But I would have to lay some of the blame on his receivers, their ability to get open and catch the ball, and then play calling.
Yeah,
but
that also comes down to, I guess, why I didn't pick them. But you picked them to win the SEC.
Yes, I did. That might be bolder than A&M.
That's about twice as bold as A&M, in my opinion. Where do you see Alabama slipping up?
Alabama, I was just going to question they relied heavily on Mark Ingram, and I just want to see how he recovers from the knee injury. Having surgery, not playing this week.
Yeah.
Trent Richardson, very talented. I think he's more of a compliment back, though. I don't think he can handle the full load. I think he's more of a Felix Jones.
I don't know. I disagree with that. I think they'll be. In fact, I love Trent Richardson more than I love Mark Ingram. Mark Ingram kind of reminds me of Ron Dane, if we can all go back that far.
Okay.
Like, remember how everyone loved Ron Dane? Like, he's supposed to be so good. He broke the rushing record or whatever, and then not that it has to translate to the NFL, but he wasn't anything in the NFL. I don't even know if he was drafted. But that kind of reminds me of that.
He actually played for the Texans.
Did he really?
Yes, he did.
Good trivia there. I think Mark Ingram's good in college. I'm not sold on his potential at the next level, and I just think that Trent Richardson, whenever he's given the ball, he is just lightning.
He is explosive. I will have to say that I like him as a player. I don't know.
I just don't see them skipping a beat. My only concern with them, I picked Alabama to win the SEC. My only concern with that pick is their defense and replacing all the people they lost. But what has Nick Saban been known to do in everywhere he's been, and that's replace his defense. And so it's probably not as big of a deal as people make it.
Right, I understand. Also, I just think maybe some of it is the mental part of Alabama. Hey, we won the national championship. Look how good we are.
Yeah.
I think that can get in some people's heads. But Arkansas, bold pick, yes. Alabama probably going to win it, yes. But
see, I don't think Alabama will go undefeated, though. I don't think so, of course, every one of my predictions this year, I don't have anyone going undefeated, and I can't remember the last time that actually happened. Someone's always gone undefeated, so it'll happen. I just don't know who it's going to be. I'm going to give everybody a loss to be safe.
Of course.
But I do like I like Florida and the track team that they have. They'll be exciting to watch, but I just think no Tebow is going to be really tough for them, and they're going to have to get used to it.
Right. I definitely agree. I agree.
Final conference, Pac-10. Obviously, I went with Oregon. That was a very easy pick for me. And there are a ton of question marks about that team with just everything that's gone on. Masoli getting dismissed from the team and them not naming a starter until this last week. And they went with my pick, which was Darren Thomas, the kid from Aldine. And I think he's going to be very exciting, and he's going to remind a lot of people of Dennis Dixon. Now, if we don't know about Dennis Dixon was going to win the Heisman before he tore his ACL against Cal.
True story.
I don't know if y'all can remember that far back, but he was going to. And so I think Darren Thomas is going to bring back great memories of Dennis Dixon, and I think he's got a better supporting cast. LaMichael James is going to be great, but a lesser-known name that's going to be also playing running back is Kenyon Barner. This kid is, LaMichael James has speed, but Kenyon Barner has, like, C.J. Spiller speed.
Right.
And he's going to get the ball a lot. They're just going to be, it's going to be like Oregon. It's going to be the normal Oregon that everyone's used to seeing. They're going to be run up and down the field. They're probably not going to play a lot of defense. They're going to try and outscore people. And so I pick Oregon. But another team I do like, and it's kind of going against Oregon, is Oregon State, which is kind of the rival. But I like Oregon State simply for the fact that the Rogers brothers are back. And I have a soft spot in my heart for James and Jacquizz Rogers.
Of course, we both do. Oregon State, my pick to win the Pac-10 for the two reasons right there. One word, Rogers. They're sick. They're absolutely sick. It's stupid crazy the things that they're able to do on the football field. Here's some stats. Jacquizz last year, 273 carries, 1,400 yards, 21 touchdowns. To go along with 78 receptions and 522 yards receiving and a touchdown. That is almost 2,000 total yards of offense by himself right there. I don't think I need to say anything more. I agree, Oregon State, exciting players, but true freshman quarterback in the Pac-10. I mean, we saw Matt Barkley. He did that cool. Was USC up to their normal standards? No, they were not. Is it Matt Barkley's fault completely? No. Why am I asking so many questions? I don't know.
I like this. Keep asking.
But I just think that this is Oregon State's year. Little not as experienced at the quarterback position. I believe that Ryan Katz with a Z is the starter. He's a sophomore. He doesn't have too many stats from last year. 232 passing yards, touchdowns. So obviously he was a backup last year. But I don't think he really gave the ball to Jacquizz. Let him run between the lineman's legs, and he'll dominate. So I think Oregon State's my pick.
There's a lot of teams that are up and coming in this conference. Arizona, Washington, Stanford. I mean, there's a lot of good teams, and then you got to throw in USC. I really don't know how they're going to play. They talk a good game. They talk like they're not going to let the two-year bowl ban bother them. But the fact is that they haven't been tackling in practice because they only have 74 athletes due to the reduction of scholarships. So they haven't practiced yet, and they're going to be playing a game in Hawaii who's been known to be kind of shifty and just throw it all over the field. So tonight could be a very interesting game for that team. I don't think they'll lose. I think they'll win by a lot. I just think it's kind of going to set the bar for the rest of the season for that team because they can't tackle in practice because they can't hurt each other because they don't have enough players to fill out that roster.
Right.
And so they're going to be an interesting story all year, and especially if they can get to the end of the year and be really, really competitive, and then they're going to get people talking about them and being just like it sucks that USC has that 2-year bowl ban because they're so good this year, that kind of thing.
Right, definitely. No, I agree. I think I'm interested to see how the players who transferred away, how that hurts USC this season. Are you any exciting players or other teams to watch out for?
Exciting players. There's a ton of exciting players. Jake Locker, he's very exciting to watch. Andrew Luck is exciting to watch as well. A lot of people think Andrew Luck, the quarterback at Stanford, is going to be the number 1 pick next year. Jacquizz and James Rogers, LaMichael James, Matt Barkley. I like watching him.
Right.
There's a lot of people in that conference, most of them being quarterbacks. The conference is stacked at quarterback. You could form an all-star team. But they got a lot of speed out there too, and it'll be a normal year in the Pac-10. There'll be some really, really bad teams like Washington State, and then there'll be the really good teams like the Oregons and the Oregon States and the people like that. But who do you got on your radar?
All those players, and I'm just going to throw out there Lane Kiffin. Will he stay? Will he go to another team next year? Is he going to call out every team in the Pac-10? Who knows? But I think he's going to be interesting to watch.
Yeah, I agree with that. To wind this up, we on a normal week, Kyle and I will pick games against one another. Blake is filling in for Kyle's seat today, so we're going to go. We got 4 games this week that are marquee matchups that everybody's going to be talking about and watching, and so we'll go through them and pick winners. First game is Pitt going to Utah. Who do you have in that game?
I have Pitt. 15th in the nation. Utah's not even ranked. Seems like a no-brainer.
Seems like a no-brainer. Vegas has the odds on Utah by, I don't want to say considerable margins, but shocking enough to make me double take at it and wonder why Pitt isn't favored. Like you said, Dion Lewis, number 15 in the nation, from a real conference. They're going to play Utah, which is not notoriously known to be a very tough place to play. It's not like a BYU or TCU. It doesn't have a reputation of being really tough to play at. So I'm actually really curious as to why Utah's favored, and that does scare me a little. But I also went with Pitt just for the reason that I think they're just a better team, and I'm not sure why Utah's favored. But second game is Oregon State going to TCU and looking to surprise some people. Who'd you pick?
I picked Oregon State. I don't know. I just feel like this is their year. So obviously, if they can win this, things are looking well. But I think if they lose this, I don't think it's the end of the world.
Yeah, it doesn't really it doesn't kill them because it's not a conference game, and you get to the Rose Bowl by winning your conference. And I think that sights any higher than that are not unrealistic, but just, I mean, you don't need to set your sights any higher than the Rose Bowl. It's a BCS Bowl. TCU ranked number 6. They're going to be tough. But I also went with Oregon State for the reasons that if you have Jaquez and James Rodgers,
you're doing all right for yourself.
Yeah, you should be okay in a lot of games. And I think that TCU defense, who's been, for the last few years, they've been impossible to run on, do anything on. I think they're in for a rude awakening when Jaquez Rodgers comes to town, because they're going to have a real tough time tracking him down.
Definitely. I totally agree. We are obviously biased about this, but dude's sick.
Yeah, when you see these kids in person,
when you've played against these kids in person,
and they just do stupid stuff to you, and you're just wondering how is it humanly possible to do some of these things, then you gain more of an appreciation for what they do in college.
Definitely.
LSU traveling to North Carolina, another top 25 game. Who do you got?
LSU, mainly because North Carolina may be missing half their team. Also, I feel like LSU, Shepard at wideout, like you talked about earlier, more mature. I think they got this.
I agree. And I really didn't think twice about this one, but a lot of that has to do with North Carolina is missing some people. They almost have no depth at running back. They could be missing D-ends, D-tackles. They got huge problems in that program, and it's kind of sad to see because this is a program that was on the rise and everyone was kind of picking them for a breakout year, but they got to get their stuff together before they can get a breakout year. Last game, Boise State traveling across the nation to play a neutral site game against Virginia Tech in Maryland, and I went with Boise State. I think they're good, and their whole thing is they're trying to go undefeated this year. And I mean, if they go undefeated, they will be in the national championship because they're ranked so high in the preseason. But this is their one game that they cannot afford to lose, and it's going to be a tough game too.
Definitely, I agree with that. First off, I'm going to throw this out here. There's no such thing as a neutral-sided game. Here's a stat for you. The drive from Boise, Idaho to Landover, Maryland is 35 hours. The drive from Blacksburg to Landover, Maryland is 4 hours and 51 minutes. You tell me who's going to have more fans there. That's right, Virginia Tech. This is not why I'm picking them to win. I've always liked Virginia Tech since back in the days of Michael Vick, but it's hard to beat Beamer ball. Whereas I think Boise State wins this game. I truthfully see them in the national championship game. But Virginia Tech pulls out the win. We'll have to see what happens to him, but I'm picking Virginia Tech.
All right, well, I picked Boise, and that concludes our podcast. Hopefully, no offense to you, Blake, you were great today. Hopefully, we'll have Kyle back from Narnia next week. We're going to try and do this Monday or Tuesday. recap everything that happened in the weekend and preview the next weekend. And so until then, we love you all. Blake, thanks for joining us.
No, thanks for having me.
All right, bye, y'all.